Welcome to the Keelhauled Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week is the February 2023 community episode where I bring in the Gold Hoarders. We're going to be talking about PvP. We're going to be talking about Pirates Life 2. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So before we get into that, let's do the Patreon pitch as always, because they are with me. If it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be on this episode. They are the ones supporting this content and joining it up. So let's get to calling out all the patrons that could make it and couldn't. Each and every week, I call out the patrons. They're the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled Podcast to support this content and to help me with taking care of the bills for the podcast. This is free for everyone, but they, for some reason, think it's worth giving me money to help pay for the costs of hosting this, as far as like editing software, all that good jazz. So I want to thank them every week because it means a lot to me. We've had a little change up in the listing here. There's been some edits to what people have been pledging, so a little bit different. People's Republic, El Cute, Balls, Bam Bam Bagel, Captain Haskell, Captain Hayes, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, Trickster, who's back. Thank you, Trickster. Welcome back. Jabaro 5, Carl Embo, Kazia the Rogue, Nightstar, Lumpy SRQ, Dub Goose, Evil Morpheus, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Mutinous Max, Raja the Brave, Registella, Replicated Flame, who, by the way, is not feeling very well. So if you happen to run into Replicated, give them a well-wishing and hope that they start feeling better soon, because they definitely need some love. Rust Belt Kid, who doesn't need love. He's fine. Don't worry about him. Norwegian, Skamelt 666, Captain Dassam, That Kilted Guy, TN Professor, Real Big Tuna, Mina Fairy, Music Me, The Lore Chronologist, Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Ghost Boy 20, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Windsor Chris, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It means the world to me. I know you guys you missed the Zam. I'll get it in there this time. Don't you worry. But with that, we're done with the call outs. I want to get you all over to the patron conversation. It was such a good time. We actually had a full crew from the same ship. So if you guys are interested in hearing what a crew sounds like on the regular basis that isn't your crew, that's basically this episode. So thank you for everyone who decided to take time out of their double Golden Glory weekend to spend with me and talk about Sea of Thieves. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to the Keelhauled Podcast. This is the community episode for February in 2020 of the year of our whale lord. In Sea of Thieves this week, we have a lot of fun stuff to kind of talk about. We're going to be diving in some speculation about what future content for Sea of Thieves could be looking like. We have an email in from some listeners that I wanted to get some thoughts on. And we also had a really interesting week as far as rewards go. But before I get into any of that, let's start going down the list of who's joining us this month. We've got El Jefe Esteban, who didn't mute. El Jefe, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to see you. Next up, we've got Norwegian, who muted. Norwegian, how you doing?
Always mute. Good to see everybody. Hope everybody's doing well.
Always mute. And next, we've got Registella, who also muted. Regis, how you doing?
Doing good. You know, the usual stuff. It's currently cloudy here in the Australian morning of Sunday, so I can't wait for winter, to be honest. I'm sick of summer.
Well, I'm just glad that the future still exists. Also, we've got Rust Belt joining us. Rust Belt, you just finished turning in a bunch of loot, or you're still turning in a bunch of loot?
No, we are officially finished, so I am good to go. I just want to let everybody know I am paid to be here. That's that.
He's a paid actor. Then we've got TN Professor jumping in. TN, how you doing?
Arr, yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
Welcome. And just showed up out of nowhere, Big Bad Pad. Patty, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Impeccable timing.
I know you just squeezed right in there at the very end. I love it. So I wanted to touch on a few things real quick, but to kind of get things rolling with season 8, we had this last week here. We're in the midst of Game Blast going on over on Sea of Thieves Twitch, where they're doing charity work, which is fantastic. 24-hour streams and stuff. Plenty of 6-packs being given away, raising money for charities. It's really nice to actually get to see this, especially for Special Effect, one of the few that I know they've had a lot of work with. And Becky, who used to work for Special Effect, now working over on the Sea of Thieves team. Have any of you guys? I wanted to kind of touch on. I know some of you have been sailing today already, but anyone trying to take advantage of the Golden Glory weekend that we're in right now?
I know Hefe, Tennessee, and myself last night, we took advantage of it. Hefe made a suggestion with us to defend instead of diving. Try to get that Athena up to 5 and then just continually defend. And I'm going to tell you right now, best decision we ever made.
Really?
And I don't think we're ever going to randomly dive again unless we absolutely have to.
No way. Okay.
The trick is to loot stack and get your loot hoard up to 5, and then defend on that. And the multipliers that gives you is significant compared to just
the Golden Glory. We were getting about 2 levels a win.
Yeah, 2 levels a win, and then when we turned in, it was about another 2 levels because we went up about 4 levels last night.
Yep.
But
really,
fantastic.
the first step is to get into a Zen state of mind that none of that treasure is yours until you turn it in.
That's always
facts.
It's the might as well be the mantra of Sea of Thieves at this point, right?
That's right.
Nothing is yours until you've turned it in. So, speaking of the Golden Glory and the double rewards that we've gotten, we had a really weird week from my perspective, where every single day this week we've had a different kind of perk for getting onto Sea of Thieves and jumping in for one specific trade company or a faction or what have you. So, like Monday was Golden Glory, Tuesday or not Golden Glory. Gold Hoarders, right? Tuesday, I think, was Order of Souls. Wednesday, I think, was Merchants. Thursday was Hunter's Call. Friday was the Allegiance factions. And then this weekend is obviously Golden Glory with Twitch drops going on. Did anybody jump on because of the specific faction? Really?
I don't think I know we did, what was the day, boys, that we did the merchant, but we don't. Like, we kind of just I don't know. We kind of just went into it a little bit with like an attitude, but
It's merchant. It's merchant.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry.
We didn't put a lot of effort into it.
We did jump on. I did specifically to pump up the Allegiance. Try and get a jump on that.
Yeah.
And I also took advantage of Gold Hoarder and Order of Souls because I was behind.
Interesting. Okay.
I like the idea of what they did because it gave me a touch of FOMO, and I kind of like that. So, but I will tell you this on the fishing stuff.
Hunter's Call.
Hunter's Call. Yeah.
It's not so easy, is it?
Well, that thing needs an overhaul in the worst way possible. It needs some love. It hadn't been touched since the first anniversary, and it needs some love. With everything that's happened to everything else in the game, that it's about time for that to get a much needed overhaul.
Do you guys remember the voyages that we got that one like week where they had like the weird day where they're like, oh hey, we're giving out Hunter's Call voyages. You can go and actually fish in a weird pool and get a specific thing. No,
I do remember that.
Okay, so I feel like this is one of those things where something like that might help. But instead of it being like a fishing pool, like say we had different tiers, say you had like the base one, which was like, okay, go get these kind of fish from this area here. What if it kind of like escalated so that they could sell the highest level of Hunter's Call ways to summon a megalodon, and it would actually be like a random megalodon?
Sounds like the system we have right now.
I hear grump, and I'm waiting for the I don't know.
Until I get this routed, I don't want anything with Megs.
No FOMO for fishing, but if you even hinted that if I did that, I might see the shrouded ghost. Then I could be bribed.
Yeah, I'd give up the soul of my firstborn for that.
You're just tossing it into the water. Sorry, son. You had to be the one.
I can remember going around with Jorvik as he tried to do weird and archaic things, hoping that it might summon the beast.
Yeah.
And
It was everyone, right?
We were practically on top of the tavern, naked, playing instruments to try to summon this thing that nobody believes in.
Okay, but part of that was also because we were asking for gold.
Well, that's true.
Sorry, World of Warcraft days coming back. So that would be, I feel like that's something that would be interesting, but it sounds like for the most part, because I really didn't hear a whole lot of buzz from people. I saw folks kind of like looking forward to Friday and the double Golden Glory weekend, but I didn't really see anyone really kind of like jumping on the chance, except for maybe, I would say Kylia, the aficionado, who's not here today. I think she's working. I think she might have been like one of the few, because I know she's so far behind on her ledgers, that really wanted to try and take advantage of each of the different trade companies. But overall, it doesn't feel like there was really a whole lot of drive. And it makes me wonder if that's because most people are capped out on their faction, or if it's just that those aren't interesting enough right now. Very curious. Anyone have any thoughts on that?
I would say, like, the only thing, I think you kind of have a point there, because I know, like, with us, most of us are capped out. I know Tennessee and Hefe are still astounded I'm not level 30 on Athena. So that's really the only advantage for me to do it, is to work on Athena during, like, anything with double gold, double glory, any of that stuff. Other than that, it's just more like, well, let's just go see what loot we can steal from people and see how much we can stack up at that point.
Anyone else got any thoughts or feelings? Maybe an idea of what else it could be?
Maybe it's just the age of the game now at this point. I mean, how many years are we into this game? And most people have finished it. So if you're taking advantage of the boost, it's just for Emissary, just for achieving those rewards. And once you've got them, it's okay, move on to the next project.
Do you all think that if we had a way to prestige our trade companies for cosmetics or, you know, different unlocks, something to entice you to want to like grind out those levels again, would that kind of refresh the desire to jump back into those trade companies?
I would say yes.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
if they really spent some time and put some cosmetics and some things out there that really kind of refreshed it, maybe some more personality, some more customization, jewelry, things like that, then maybe then. But I've got pretty much everything I really want. I'd love to see more piratey things. I know you love the Halo sword, Rust, but
Watch
more
your
piratey
language, sir.
things.
Dude, it looks so
Watch your
good
language.
though. It looks so good.
The plasma sword is a gift from God.
It looks so good. So, but okay, so you're saying like if they really kind of like nail down some awesome piratey stuff, Pad, you're saying the same thing too. You want some like proper pirate clothing. Like, do you guys have any images in your mind that you can kind of like convey that would kind of give a better idea for people that might not be too sure what you're talking about?
Anything that doesn't look like something that you would get in Fortnite, and I feel like we've had a bunch of Fortnite-y stuff
How
here of
dare
late,
you.
and I know.
I
you know,
still want my clown outfit.
the Ronald McDonald hair has been there for a long time.
yeah. That meme's been there. You could enhance it maybe. Do you know the detail they put in with the Disney Pirates of the Caribbean crossover?
Yeah.
Those clothes sets really had another level of detail, and really what I want is to be able to take pieces of it rather than the whole uniform. If they spent that level of detail and let me piece it together rather than whole, and I know I'm asking a lot, but that would be interesting.
Patty, what were you thinking?
Well, I'm just obviously I know that Hook's not in the game, but it's a pirate thing. It's like stripy trousers, stripy t-shirts. We know, or stripy tops. We know that they made clothing out of whatever they had available. So give us some sack tops. I don't know, just something that doesn't look as though it's been made by a tailor.
So you want more like clothing that seems like it's
base pirate stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely agree. You guys know me. I love having like the traditional piratey type stuff. I'm all for getting like very realist. I think like I'm trying to think the set. I think it's the Sovereign set that has the really nice hats. Those are like the most piratey, like big hats kind of thing that I love seeing. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I would think if they could figure out a way that they could create simple but unique rewards for the different trade companies, and they allowed us to prestige the levels to give us an opportunity to grind those out again, to have something to like look forward to seeing. Like every time we turn in a piece of loot, we get that dopamine hit of seeing the number go up. I really think that would go a long way to kind of like having people be able to look forward to things like a weekend of like double rewards for specific, and even just have like an entire week of it where you could have like all of the different trade companies and showing off like what they would actually, showing off like what you could actually get if you were to have like that double weekend, and have it like specifically, maybe even have it like specifically for those weeks where they're working on stuff that you'd be able to progress towards those, maybe something like that. I don't know. It's hard for me to sit here and quickly come up with an entire system in one shot, but something like that I think would be really great to try and give us something to drive forward to. But it was a shame that I don't think a lot of us took a lot of advantage of the double rewards for each trade company, except for probably Friday. I would say Friday would probably be the one that most people jumped on because that's the current thing that they're working on. Am I wrong on that?
I wish I would have gotten numbers for that, but it feels like the rewards for Saturday are better than the Friday rewards. I don't know if that's just because of the double gold or what, but a lot of people were taking advantage of it. I didn't see anybody hardly doing any fishing. Never ran into any Order of Souls. Did see a few Gold Hoarders and merchants, but that was about it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if time versus effort really factored into who wanted to try and make the most money during certain things. Or certain days.
It's hard to get off work, sometimes. You only have so many days off. We did see a lot of boats doing the hourglass when that was doubling.
Do you think it should be like a whole week? Like every month there's a specific week that is just for one trade faction? I
think it would be easier for people to take advantage.
Would you rather have Community Day or this right here?
This was nice to kind of spread things out, and it allowed people to hop in and at least take advantage of something, or plan time to take advantage of something they specifically wanted to try and do.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's right there. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and I think if if you had something like a week long and said, oh, hey, Gold Hoarders is going to be, this day through this day, like, whatever, Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, whatever you want to call it. And then like, if you did those, like did one a month or something like that for, a couple months, and then had like one community day, like I'd be okay with that. I mean, obviously we know how community day is. It's either crashed or burned for a lot of people over the last couple times, but either people make out on it really well, or people complain because it's just having massive issues. But I don't know. I just honestly, like, I didn't even realize about any of the stuff. And, obviously I know I step away a little bit here and there, but I didn't even know any of it was going on until I went to get on that one night, and they were like, oh yeah, it's like double for a merchant. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so I didn't even know it was going on. I knew double gold, double glory weekend was going to happen, but I didn't know about any of the other stuff.
And that's what makes me wonder if maybe they should do stuff like this, where they have specific trade factions kind of when they're looking to do like content updates for those factions, which is where I still think like having a prestige system would be an awesome time for you to be like, all right, cool. Well, there's a new voyage type coming out for Gold Hoarder, so let's prestige Gold Hoarder, and we can start working on that to start getting some rewards and start working on the new voyage and play around with it, and have the double Gold Hoarder week be a way to kind of like really push people to start working on that. Something to just kind of like think about like the weeks in a month more thematically for the different trade companies, but have actual reasons to why you would want to run those, as opposed to just giving us double gold for the specific trade faction on 1 week or a day or something.
Wow, imagine that, tying some type of thematic storyline into a video game and chart it over the course of weeks, months, years. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Which that actually brings us into a perfect segue. I wanted to ask you guys about Pirate's Life. We've been sitting with Pirate's Life for a while. We haven't had any updates. We haven't heard anything about it. But a lot of people are starting to talk about it as if it's something that's going to happen. And I don't know if that's something that will actually happen. Actually, Patty makes one comment about make the trade factions up to level 100 and add a prestige option. I think that would be a fantastic idea. I think that is a smart choice. And I think Rare should really invest some time into looking into that. But I wanted to talk about Pirate's Life 2. And that's because a lot of folks that I've seen around are talking about it. They want another Pirate's Life 2. They want to see Jack Sparrow come back. They want to see the captain make an appearance. They want to get a furthering of the story. You guys are some of the few that I've talked to the most who want to stick with the Sea of Thieves story, not necessarily with like Flameheart in the Sky, but like to keep the lore tied to Sea of Thieves. How do you guys feel about Pirate's Life 2?
I think it's okay to bring some of that back, but it's got to be done in a way that the SOT lore is center. I don't give two flying flips about a Jack Sparrow adventure. Jack can come back and do things. That's cool and fine. It's just that he needs to be working towards something that's going to be tying into the overarching story of the Sea of Thieves themes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I wanted a Jack Sparrow story, I would go find a Pirates of the Caribbean game.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Which there aren't many of, and the ones that do exist aren't that great.
They set that possibility up at the end with Jack, or who was it? The couple.
George and Rose, wasn't it?
Yeah.
George and Rose leaving. Yeah.
Yeah. So they set that up where it could tie in, and really it made you feel like there was a possibility for more. And you're right, Regis, it has been very quiet.
So I'm fairly certain that they're going to be doing something for E3. I don't know what, but I know that the teams that are working on content are busy, and I know that the teams that are working on showcasing content are having to shift to other stuff. There is Regis, you mentioned that Xbox isn't going to E3. That's because they don't need to. They have the Microsoft what is it called? The Microsoft Stadium
Showcase.
Yeah, they do the thing right down the road anyways, so they haven't really been, even before COVID, they were already kind of doing their own thing off the side anyways down the road, so
Yeah.
It really didn't matter.
Yeah, they bought like a stadium just for their own events. So they'll be at E3 in sense that they'll be doing stuff around the time of E3, but they won't necessarily have to be on the show floor for E3. Same thing with Nintendo. Nintendo always has something going on during E3 time. They just don't usually have stuff there actually at there. So we'll see content for Xbox. I promise you that. I doubt very much that they aren't going to have some sort of news during that time in June, but whatever it is, it'll probably be like their own thing that they'll be doing. Yeah, like another developer direct. Patty, you bring up the 5th year anniversary. What do you think they're doing for the 5th year anniversary?
I can't comment on that because I'm on Insiders.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in there, and unfortunately Insiders is on NDA so that people don't get spoiled on that, but we know that they're doing something for 5th anniversary. Some folks probably know because of Insiders. Some folks don't because we haven't been on Insiders. But we know that they want to showcase us. It's the 5th year the game's been out. I know that they're doing some fun stuff that'll be really cool. And I know that they've got some plans in place to really kind of take some time to really celebrate Sea of Thieves in general. For E3, I could see them doing a Pirate's Life. I don't think it's honestly that soon. I think they've got a big story planned, but I think the big story planned is actually more tied to the captain making their appearance. as well as Flameheart, because I think that we've been on, I think A Pirate's Life set up the captain and in them coming, as well as the Grand Maritime Union. I think honestly, a lot of the content that we've gotten recently has kind of set up the Grand Maritime Union more than A Pirate's Life 2, in my opinion. But what do you guys think?
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Right, and they've said that we're not, that they have no intention of doing big tall tales anytime soon. That's not on the roadmap. So if it comes like this, it's going to come, I would assume, in adventure form, little smaller pieces, which is fine. But you know, I'm way more invested at this point and way more interested in the captain and getting him in here, and kind of how that ties into Flameheart and just. I'm way more interested in that than I am with any of the Disney stuff. Which, again, the Disney stuff is fine, and it can come in, but it needs to be playing second fiddle to the SOT lore.
But are they going to put the captain, is he going to be a Disney character, or is he going to be a Sea of Thieves original character?
That's a great question. That is a great question.
That is.
Ooh. What do you guys think?
Down in under the sea, wasn't there that last battle we had where they were talking with one of the baddies from the Pirates of the Caribbean?
Uh-huh.
That felt like there was a flavor of Maritime Union link in that.
Uh-huh.
So we could be talking about everything we're hinting at.
Just for context, you mean Lord Cutler Beckett from Pirates Life 2 and 3, Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3.
Yeah, I remember he was what, in ghost form up at the top of that tower.
I think he's more of like a memory kind of thing, like, you know, just there is like a memory.
I can see it. Right. I just replayed it, and at the top of the tower, like, he's just a normal character. There's no ghost form. There's no nothing. It just looks like a regular character. I mean, at least that's what it looked like to me. I'm not saying that
it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I had some combinations I had to finish up, but so I just did it, and when I got up there, he just was a normal character, just like anybody else in the game. So I'm not too sure. I mean, obviously, we can see where they could go with that, but in as much as somebody who like loves the lore, but doesn't care that much at the same time, there's so many pockets of the story and the lore and everything that are missing, but I don't know if enough people, I know there's a lot of people that love the lore, I don't know if there's enough people that care about the missing pockets of certain parts of the stories for them to focus on it and not just continue doing what they're doing and maybe pull out more Disney crap. I'm not saying I don't like it, I'm just saying, I mean, I don't know.
This game it's their love project. They love this game. They love their story. I can't see them just going to Disney just to boost the player count, though. Like, maybe they have a plan where, yeah, they were going to incorporate Disney, but I can't see them bending over just for, hey, let's do this to bump up our numbers.
No, and that's not the impression they gave when they talked about it. They went to Disney and won them over with their story, is the impression I got. There's got to be a room somewhere in Rare with about a gazillion Post-it notes with story ideas. Rust, you brought up an interesting point. There is so much about the motivation of Sea of Thieves community that only Rare has the power to know, and for the rest of us, I think we're just trying to read tea leaves. I made reference to it in the chat. This group, I wouldn't call your typical player or your typical casual player. Our motivations, I don't know that we could really link them directly to the other group's motivations necessarily. There's just so much you wish you knew.
No, and I agree with you on that. I think, at least from my perspective, I can't speak for anybody else, but there's times in this game, and obviously, like, everybody knows, I've walked away a couple times, took a month off, took a couple months off kind of thing here, played catch up. But at the end of the day, like, I always came back, but I didn't come back so much for the game as I came back for my friends in the community. It could be power washing simulator or a lawn mowing simulator. I don't care. If that's what my friends were playing, then I probably would have came back for that too. So, like, at the end of the day, for me, I hate saying it sometimes, but, like, I'll complain about how they don't fix stuff or how they don't do this, they don't do that. But at the end of the day, whatever they put in, I'm going to play. I might complain about it, but I'm going to play it and I'm going to have fun with my friends.
Sea of Thieves is one of those great games where it is so open-ended and there's so much that you can do that you can really kind of have multiple circles of people that like to do different things. You can have people that just love doing PvE. You can have people that just love doing PvP. You can have people that just love sitting in a boat talking with their friends because it's their off-work chat room where MSN chat used to serve that purpose. And I think that what you were talking about, Rust, as far as having the smaller pockets of lore not necessarily being a big enough drive for Rare to focus on that type of thing, I don't disagree. I do think that the journals serve the purpose of that kind of lore, and that really fills in a lot of the gaps, but they do want to be able to paint with a big broad stroke of something that will draw players in with something big and flashy, where something like a Pirates of the Caribbean would be a big enough draw to players to go and install Sea of Thieves and play, because at the end of the day, Rare is a studio. They do have to make money. This is a passion, but they also want to make sure that they are trying to get people, they're trying to get monthly active users because they want to keep the game healthy. They want to keep people invested in the cosmetics and stuff like that, which is why we see a lot of those really big flashy Fortnite skins coming to the game. It's why we see things like Halo crossovers with Season 3 and the AI with the ship set that reflects that. You know, there's a reason why that stuff all happens, and a lot of it is to drive interest. I could definitely see them going with Cutler Beckett and having some investment in him coming to draw it up. I know that I had spoken with Mike at a point, and that it might have been in an interview, it might have been in DMs, I can't quite recall. So I'll kind of spill the tea on this one. But at one point they knew that they were putting that in, but it wasn't anything that was directly tied to the East India Trade Company, and that it wasn't like a forecall or a foretelling of the Grand Maritime Union. He was just happened to be there because it was the type of soul that was attracted to what Davy Jones was trying to suggest. He can always correct me on that as if he wants and stuff, but I think the thing with the stories is that George and Rose were meant to be the Will and Elizabeth Turner for the Pirates of the Caribbean in Sea of Thieves, because they obviously didn't get a chance to get Will and Elizabeth. They weren't going to be able to get those actors or at least the voices of them or the likenesses of them to be able to put in Sea of Thieves. They got Davy Jones and they got they got Jack Sparrow, and that was about as good as we got. So I don't know that we'll ever get to see them in the game, and that's why we have George and Rose as the kind of replacements for them. If they do bring Pirates of the Caribbean, I would like it to serve Sea of Thieves more than anything, because I think that Sea of Thieves' lore is just as good and just as worthy of having characters like Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones kind of giving us their attendance, if you will. But I would not be surprised if there was a Pirate's Life in the future. Pad, you're talking about Monkey Island. You think you want more Monkey Island? Like we could get some of those characters in?
They definitely seem to be more Sea of Thieves-like characters.
I don't disagree.
I know that there are a few people out there that would like to see more Monkey Island, and I think Mike's one of them.
Yeah. You're talking about Mike Chapman or Xbox Mike 29?
Both of them.
Fair. Yeah, I do think that running into LeChuck, if LeChuck ended up being the captain, I wouldn't be disappointed with that in the slightest. I think it would be hilarious, especially given that Davy Jones is working with him. What a crazy tie-in that would end up being. Norwegian, you're saying Blackbeard for Pirates of the Caribbean would be good. You'd like to see them?
Can't remember the name of the actor. I could picture his face and I could hear his voice. But if they got something like that, that would be a fantastic captain. I mean, it's Blackbeard. Everybody knows who Blackbeard is, and they could build lore on that. I mean, he's already a captain with reputation. Everybody already seems to be wary of the captain. It would make sense.
It would be really cool to see him come back in. I'm looking up. I'm trying to find the actor for you right now because I know that's gonna.
I think it's Ian something. Ian McShane, maybe, or I could be wrong.
Let's see. I know it's Teach. Come on, internet. It is. Yeah, you're right. Ian McShane. Good call. Nice memory. Yeah, it would be fantastic to have to have McShane come on and actually be able to voice him. Who knows what he's actually doing right now? Actually, I can take a look and see because I'm on his IMDb. He's doing voices. He's actually working on voices for something called My Father's Dragon. So, and he's got some other projects in post-production. Looks like he's going to be in the next John Wick as well too. What do you know? I would love if they could bring him in to do Blackbeard. I think Blackbeard would be fantastic. So overall, from what it feels like is that a lot of you are okay if Pirates of the Caribbean comes in, but still more invested in Sea of Thieves lore, if not just kind of getting to spend time with friends in the game.
Yes, I agree with that.
So say we all.
Yeah, so say we all.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing that I wanted to jump into here, I got an email from one of the listeners, and I don't know how to say their name specifically. I'm guessing it's Spin. It's SPINN. Maybe some of you might know. But they wrote in an email. I wanted to read it to you all because I thought it was really great to have a discussion over this because it does kind of deal with what we're talking about here. But they wrote in and says that my name is Spin Kick. I'm from Australia, and I've been listening into your podcast since episode 243. I've been playing Sea of Thieves regularly for nearly 3 years now, and recently I got a new job where I have to travel an hour to work and an hour back every day, and your content has kept me sane on those Monday morning drives. So thank you, and I find your podcast about Sea of Thieves extremely entertaining, and I enjoy hearing your view on different issues and content on the game. Keep it up, mate. I do, however, have a question for you, and this is where you guys are going to help me out with this. What do you think of having the Devil's Roar turn into an ice region once we defeat Flameheart once and for all? There could be so many cool little game mechanics we could have introduced with an ice region. Imagine when you enter the ice region, your wheel and capstan begin to freeze over, and to operate them, you have to melt the ice off by raising your lantern to them. Or floating icebergs with ancient artifacts embedded in that we can chip/cannon away for loot. They can introduce orcas and change the chickens in the region to penguins, which would add commendations to Hunter's Call. I could go on all day. Thank you for your content you put out, mate. It's truly appreciated. Spin, Captain of the Eldritch. What do you guys think? Do you think take out the necessity for Flameheart being defeated aspect of it, but do you think the Devil's Roar could ever shift? Do you think they'd ever be able to turn that into an ice region? And if they did, would you be interested in it?
I think it's a grossly underutilized area of the map.
Come on, Norwegian. Come on, man.
Oh, sorry. They need something. It's the worst area of the game. Only people go out there when they don't want to be messed with by other people because nobody wants to go over there. Yeah, they need to do something with it or create another area and then get rid of it.
It's time for a refresh. It's underused. It had a good concept. Someplace more dangerous, the hard mode with higher rewards, and all it turned into was a depressing place that you go to hide from people and you don't get any better rewards, really.
Can you imagine having to dodge drifting icebergs, though? I will say I do find that interesting.
Well, some of the crew might have to pay more attention.
Somebody may have to get off the bowsprit.
Well,
hilarious.
That's where you want to be able to see those icebergs, right? Exactly. Way up at front.
Titanic, ladies.
Yeah, well, but you actually have to be looking, Rust. You just can't have your character standing up there emoting.
No, I do all this work, Logan, and this is how I get treated.
I understand.
And the worst part is, they can watch it now. So the part is I get yelled at. I'm like 5 seconds on the bowsprit. Hey, Rusty, what are you doing? Oh, I don't know. But
as if they needed that.
Caveat onto that, we're getting rid of it. I need to finish my accommodations in the Roar first. Just saying.
So that calls into question because there is a lot of commendations that are set up for the Roar. There's a lot of content that is tied to it, and getting rid of it, I think, would be really, really tough. It would be on par for PvE fans that I think getting rid of the arena was for PvP fans.
No, do it.
No.
I'm done with that. I've got my scars. Everybody gets scars.
We almost made it one episode without bringing up arena.
Everybody gets that experience. Everybody gets scars. I don't care.
TDM.
So the solution here is just let everyone have access to the accommodations and
No,
Yeah, I think
no,
that's the
no,
solution.
no, no,
Just
no.
give everybody the
no.
accommodations, give everybody the cosmetics, and we're all happy. We're all good.
No.
And add
You've
the
lost them
Shrouded
forever.
Ghost as a bonus.
so it definitely it makes me like, okay, let's set aside the Devil's Roar being gone for a second here. Let's talk about if the ice region was a new region that was added to the map.
So you're just going to keep a whole region for the people that might or might not want to get those commendations, which they should have gotten earlier, unless they just joined the game and they don't have a clue about missing them. Is that what you're saying?
What is arena again? I'm new to this game. I would like to know about this arena you speak of.
It's gone.
So
just
the answer I think is SOT 2. They desperately need to get onto a new version of the real engine. There is massive constraints that they're having to play within, and I think we're 5 years into this thing, and it's been add another 2 or 3 for development before that. When all this stuff was based on or built off of, let's give us a SOT 2. You can keep some parts of the map, expand out to other areas, and you can bounce back and forth between the two. Let your characters be able to be transferred from one to the other, so that way you can keep all your stuff. And let's have a true refresh of the game that obviously a lot of people like. And I don't know. I think there's an argument out there for give us a new game that's just an expansion of what we have now.
My God.
Question to that argument though would be, and I'm with you, Hefe, you know that. But question to that argument would be, is there any evidence that we actually would ever get a new game, or just keep building and building and building? Because there are games that are still built on old engines and they just keep adding stuff to it because the community is just big enough that it makes them just enough money. So that'd be my question is, what evidence leads to that we actually, or that they're even working on a new game?
I don't know.
More so at this point, it's a hope that they are.
Yeah.
I don't think they could handle anything else, another region. I really don't feel that the game could handle it. It's already chugging along as it is.
I mean, I would have said the same thing when if you'd told me that there was a huge new area underneath Reaper's Tower or Reaper's Hideout that they were building. If I thought that the server would be able to handle having that much more of the world kind of built out.
But to be fair, for years that title card has popped up so far away from Reapers. That area has always been there.
Yeah.
It's just never been. We just never accessed it, but it's been there because that title card hits so far out.
You guys, I've got the solution. Everwild is just a code name for Sea of Thieves 2.
I can't believe that Hefe is he's like, forget just getting rid of the region because no one uses it. Let's just get rid of the whole game and we'll just start off with a whole new one. Like, forget the 2% of people who got sick of or who got left behind with Arena. Forget about the 2% of people who like the Devil's Roar. Let's just get rid of the 100% of people that are playing on, or the 2% of people that are playing on Xbox One.
Hot take.
Patty's just like, get rid of the Xbox One people.
I get the feeling Caleb's somewhere in the back just clapping for you right now.
We should get rid of the Xbox One people.
It does make me wonder what the life cycle of this game is going to be, how they can continue to support the Xbox One, because it's not just the Xbox One, right? It's the Xbox One X as well, because the One X, it's still playable. It's not like, it's still 30 frames 4K, but it's not, the load times are really rough and stuff like that, but the game will still run fairly decently on an Xbox One X if you can handle 30 frames per second.
But it's
render
holding
distance
back
is horrible.
development. Yeah, they talked about assets and having to choose what they can keep and can't keep.
But even in that circumstance of like the Xbox One or Xbox One X, the old generations, whatever we want to call them, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just the big old meanie, the Grinch or whatever, but like, if you truly wanted to play this game and you're still playing it on one of those old systems and you're still enjoying it, with all the issues you're probably having, like, more power to you. But like, hey, you gotta save some pennies, man. Buy a new system, do something, play it another way. There's way better ways to play it, or to try to get a new system to play it on a way better way.
Norwegian brought up a good point. I don't know how Destiny 2 changed over.
When Destiny 2 came out, because I remember Vanilla Destiny back when we were playing that one, and then Destiny 2 came out, I feel like they've transitioned their cosmetics and some of the weapons. I don't remember, though, because it was so long ago. But I feel like they did transition. That would be, if they could do something like that and upgrade to a new engine, that would be worth it.
I'm trying to look this up.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they should happen, is come out with a new game, your character and your stuff transition with it, and then we can continue on with a new platform that can actually be built upon in such a way that they're not having to rob Peter to pay Paul to get something to work. Sometimes
when sailing, you have to cut the dead weight in order to survive the storm.
Goodbye, Rusty.
What? What does the storm have to deal with the weight?
There's plenty of things you wouldn't have accomplished without me. Don't even ask. You're cutting me away. I'm not going to do it.
I was referring to the old. I was referring to the old Xbox. Just not everything's about you, Rusty.
All right, kids. All right, settle. No. So I'm with you guys on this. I've moved past the Xbox One. I have my One X for nostalgic reasons. I have 2 Series X's that I can play on. I have my PC if I absolutely have to. I'm in the mindset that I'm going to be pushing towards cutting edge. I would love numbers, honestly. This is what I would actually like. I would actually like to hear from Rare, which they'll never do, but I would love to get like a bird on my shoulder whispering, what is the actual percentage of users still using last gen hardware to play the game? And then compare that to the number of users that are playing on the PC version on lower specs, and see like how those line up and what the percentage is. Because I feel like if you were to transition to a Sea of Thieves 2, there would be a lot of issues, not only just with the fact that you're leaving behind an entire game's worth of Easter eggs for people in the community, myself included. Selfishly, I would be very sad, if a lot of Easter eggs got lost. Now, maybe mine can come forward with the rest of the Rare names for Captain Skeletons and stuff. So I don't know that I would be too worried about it, but there's definitely a lot of people who would be very sad about losing their Easter eggs to a second game. But what about that kind of thing? Like, what about the people that have a fondness for specific islands or specific people? Like, are we at the point now where performance is hurting so much that they really need to reset the game in a sequel?
Well, you even brought up a point. You were bringing up people love their cosmetics. What about the people that bought cosmetics? There's a lot of items that you can purchase on here. That would be something that people would probably want carried over, and not, hey, I just spent $10 and 2 weeks later, a game came out, don't get to use it anymore.
But isn't that gaming? Isn't that what gaming has become? Like, we see it with games all the time. I buy a game, I go and play, I buy the DLC, I buy this, I buy that, I buy this, I buy that, and then another game comes out in that series, or they just stop supporting the game. Like, isn't that just what gaming has become? I don't agree with it, but I just feel like that's what gaming has become.
Definitely has.
There was a game.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It definitely has happened with stuff like that. I know Avengers is going through that right now. They're having to tell people, they had to cut off their store. They had to tell people like, hey, you know what? We're going to be giving all of the stuff that's in the shop right now away for free. We're going to continue letting people play the game, but at a certain point, you're not going to be able to buy anything in the store. If you did buy stuff in the store, anything that you purchased, the value of that is going to be given as in-game currency. Norwegian, go ahead and jump in here. You got an example that I want you to talk about.
Knockout City, a game that is, I don't even think it's 1 year old. If it is, it's recent still. If you purchased the game, so sorry, you bought the game and you can no longer play it. It's a multiplayer game that is no longer supported at all.
We also saw this with Stadia as an ecosystem. Stadia didn't last, and they are giving back the money that anyone spent on it for the games that they bought through their ecosystem. I would definitely say that it would behoove, if Rare did this, they would have to make sure that any of the purchased cosmetics that they've done, any of the emotes, things like that, all of that would be considered legacy and brought forward with your character. I could see them doing a Sea of Thieves 2. The thing that I think would be really good is that they would have to start from scratch. They would want to start with the base understanding of what their game needs to be, what they want in it, but really kind of lock down how good the actual coding is for that. And I don't know how good that's going to end up being, because I still think that they're going to be tied to Azure servers, which I think personally is the main hiccup here. I don't know what Unreal 5 would do that Unreal 4 isn't doing for them right now. I do have questions about, the validity of older gen hardware holding back the performance requirements that they want to do for other stuff. But it'll be very interesting to kind of see. Prof, you got something you want to bring up?
Well, I just remember I bought stuff from my original Xbox avatar, and it took a little time, but they did transition those into the new Xbox avatars, and I eventually got the updated items that I had purchased for that avatar. So there's models out there to do that, and we see other games that have been in existence much longer than Sea of Thieves that carry over characters that you've developed and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's possible. In their context, I don't know. They don't really tell us much about their programming, other than how amazing it was for them to get flame to work and water, which is amazing. But how many hard choices they had to make because of the old hardware. I wouldn't dismiss the old hardware and the platform they chose, because they told us that they had to make hard decisions about what assets they could put in and take out, because they only had so much ability because they were dealing with old hardware and the platform.
One of the questions that always pops up in my mind is, what would Sea of Thieves as a team do differently if they had to start from scratch, knowing what they know with this game? What choices would they make? Would they balance things differently? Would they try and shore up the amount of assets or the amount of resources that ships take so that they could have different ships? Like, I'm always kind of curious, like, if you could start over knowing what you know now, what would they do differently, and see where they go from that?
Yeah, well, they've talked already. I mean, I guess Sea of Thieves was Rare's first live services game. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That in the process of this game, they have learned so much that I think that if they get would have the opportunity to, say, come out with a SOT 2, that through these years of learning of them kind of really getting their hands kind of in that live services game mode for the first time, they probably absolutely would do some things differently. And they probably have learned things they've learned that we wish they could probably go back and do some things differently because of what they have learned. And that would just give them an opportunity to do that, to make the game that we all love that much better.
Do we give them the benefit of the doubt?
Maybe just me being hopeful.
Do we give them the benefit of the doubt too much, maybe because we love the game? Like, I keep hearing, and I've heard it for years. Oh, what's their first live service game? Oh, they love this property. Oh, they love this. It's the first live service game. But like, so many live service games came before this. Now, I'm not saying people, teams make mistakes. I'm not denying that. But I look at some of the things that we as players keep complaining about, and they don't get fixed, or they don't look at them, or they don't really do anything about it. They just kind of beat around the bush. They don't really talk to us about it. And then, oh, hey guy, here's this nice new shiny thing. Like, go away, go play with it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit more on the other side of, like, I understand. Yes, Rare loves it, loves this project. Everybody on the project, I understand all that, but it's a business too. And I think sometimes I feel like we say, oh, well, it's their first live service game, so we'll just let this slide. Well, no, we have years of live service games in front of us of people doing it right, or people learning from their mistakes. But yet now, as the game gets older, we're finding more and more stuff that's broken, more and more stuff that doesn't have an answer, or they don't tell us has an answer, and it takes them forever to fix, or they just never fix it. So when do you start actually doing these things as a team? When does Rare step up and say, okay, hey, like, yeah, this is a priority now? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know how to put it without just sounding like a complete, horrible person to them.
It's tough because it's easy to be from our perspective and point to other games as a service and point and be like, Rare, just do that. Because we're talking about people's knowledge of how to build games, how to design games, how to develop games. It's not as easy as copying, pasting what one company does for their service as a template and then just slapping a skin on it and calling it Sea of Thieves, right? Like, they have to build everything. They have to develop it. They have to design it. They have to test it. I agree that I think Rare loves and wants the best for the fans as well as the game. The knowledge is going to come down to them hiring the right people for those positions. And because of that, I think it's partially like, I'd be very curious to hear like what their hiring is like does them being in England and having the restrictions of where they can hire people from, does that come with issues the way that way American studios don't run into, or Japanese studios don't run into, because of the different types of people that are available for that versus the culture of living in a country where where gaming is a lot more widely accepted, things like that. Very hard to kind of speak to, but it's always going to be tough. And say, like, do I think we're giving Rare a pass because they always come out with really fun adventures, or they always have something new? Should we be okay with them just saying, all right, well, the cool thing this update is burying stuff? Like, I see where you guys are coming from. But it would be very hard for me to not give them a pass, given how much enjoyment I've gotten out of the game with just what they've been able to come up with in this. And I think Sea of Thieves is so unique of a game that it's almost too hard to really judge compared to other games outside of like the actual live service model, because I don't think any other company is genuinely trying to do what Rare has done with Sea of Thieves. You look at like Skull and Bones. I can tell you right now, Skull and Bones is a hot mess. That game is going to have some serious issues if they don't fix some of the big issues that I have with it already. But that is something that they are actively working on, but it's not going to compare to Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves will still stand out as the better game, in my opinion.
Yeah, by the time it comes out, it's old news. I mean, because they started out
roughly the same time.
Pretty much what other pirate game is there? I mean, that's off the map for me.
Yeah, and I think
Skull and who? What?
And I think that's kind of a thing here, is like, it really is the only pirate game out there other than Skull and Bones, which we've heard about for years and years and years. I mean, other than that, I mean, okay, yeah, Black Flag, but how many people are going back and playing Black Flag? Like, I'm not saying that it's not worth playing. I'm just saying, it is the only pirate game out there. But I do agree with you, Logan, about, what is their hiring process? What are they looking for? If they want to build A, who do they have to hire to be able to build, Project A? And that's why you have to surround yourselves with the intelligent people that know how to do this. And hopefully going forward, they can figure that out, I think. But I don't know. We see it so many times with studios where they're like, okay, this isn't working, or we can't fix this. Hey, we need to hire somebody, and they do it. And then it just seems like Rare kind of just, to me, sits back and goes, well, we're working on it. And then it never gets fixed. And 5 years later, we're still sitting here.
Logan, we sail regularly with some others, and the comments that we get into, Grengar, that the game isn't as popular or carries as much of the gaming population as we would like to think, and therefore Microsoft isn't going to invest in it. We don't know. It's a fun argument that Grengar and I have often, but it remains, we don't know. We love this game a lot. We've been playing it for years now, and developed real friendships and communities around it. I'm struggling right now we've already said, if there was a Sea of Thieves 2, we would be right there. And I mean, for us, it would be a reality. But we know so little about how dear this game is to Microsoft. Every game Rare has done is dear to them. That's their history. But do they have the investment in population that we feel it does?
I can say with pretty good certainty that from Microsoft's perspective, Sea of Thieves is a huge win for them. And that they will continue to let Rare do what Rare wants to do. So long as they are continuing to invest in Sea of Thieves, like it is a strong game for the micro, because if you think about like what else they're doing right now, Forza Horizon 5 is doing excellent. They just announced their next expansion. Gears is silent. Halo Infinite's been struggling with its identity for a very long time. We still don't know anything about Avowed. Grounded has done really well. Obsidian's killing it. But we don't have Starfield. We don't have Redfall. We don't have State of Decay 3. As far as games go for Microsoft, Sea of Thieves is not only one of the biggest sellers for them for multiplayer content, but it's also one of the biggest drivers for Game Pass. And it is constantly touted that because they are always bringing new content for free. New content will always be added to Sea of Thieves. No one will ever have to pay for an expansion for this game. They only ask that you buy cosmetics, right? That's the only thing. Everything else is all the same. So as far as Microsoft is concerned, I'm not worried about that. I think they see the value the way we do.
And you in the chat are bringing up the same arguments I do, but because they're so tight-lipped on the numbers, all we have is that it's the game featured on Game Pass, which to me speaks a lot. But that veil of secrecy is interesting.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It would be nice to hear like how healthy the game is. There's a reason why I think a lot of people were concerned with Blizzard when WoW stopped putting out numbers for subscribers. Microsoft did the same thing when they moved to Game Pass. They stopped releasing console numbers and they started talking about monthly active users for Game Pass. I don't know that Sea of Thieves is hurting right now. I don't think that that's the case. I think Sea of Thieves is doing really well. In fact, I think season 8 has done exceptionally well for being able to give us an opportunity to see like a lot of what's going on with the PvP side. And actually, if you guys have some time, I wanted to bring up something because Godhammer wanted to join us and I almost forgot to bring this in, but he actually wrote something in. So does anyone need to dip out? Because I know that we're a little over time.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Regis, thank you. I appreciate you stopping by. But we'll go ahead and keep pushing.
The rest of us are tied to the mast.
Fair enough. Okay, so Godhammer wrote in, I've been continuing my Hourglass fights over the last month, pre and post cross stamp update. At this point, where we are with the matchmaking with regards to finding suitable skill-based opponents is, speaking personally, better than I imagined it would be. I regarded dumpstering as losing on the initial joust phase of the match. Those are a rarity now. For me and my my opponent, consistently we win a few and then lose a few as my wins take me into a bracket with better pirates, with pirates better than me who blast me back down. My average match, typically a duo sloop, now lasts 10 to 20 minutes as we prod and test defenses, and each ship gets the measure of each other. In one example, I was duo slooping with a partner with a lower MMR than myself. We won the first match quickly. The next two we won after about 15 minutes apiece, and when we decided to go for the battle to hit champion, we were matched with a crew so on our level it went to attrition and took over an hour. We won after they failed to a ram strat. At this point, we're with around 450 matches played. My win rate is pretty near 55%, which is a very solid indicator of how well I feel that the matchmaking aspect of the Hourglass mode is holding up. Consider me impressed. Does this resonate with you? Because I feel like Season 8 has brought in a lot of people into Sea of Thieves to have this PvP on demand. I think that the cross stamp has really helped out. I know Davram has been having a heck of a hard time having proper matches because of his MMR versus the person that he's playing with. I wanted to get this in here because we've been talking about the value of Sea of Thieves, and I think that Season 8 has done a lot for this, but what do you guys think? Thoughts? Matchmaking working?
Tennessee, I kind of want to base this off of you, buddy, because I can't speak for Norwegian or Pad, but I know between the three of us, you have the most time involved with it compared to Hefe and I, because from my point of view, other than what we played on Friday, matchmaking is god awful if you're just diving. My opinion, god awful. I'm talking like maybe one win in every 5 to 10 match losses, like just complete crap. And if that's the way it continues to go, like I won't play it. But on Friday with the way we played, if it's more like that and it's evenly matched, I'd be down 100%. But I mean, Tennessee, like I said, I caveat
the matches. The matches we played is more like the solo matches I've been playing lately since they did the readjust with matchmaking. It's been much more comparable, and it's been more fun that way. The challenge we've had is we're still trying to get ourselves back into fighting shape on the Brig and Galleon. I know Chenzo and his crew feel like things are pretty spot on, but they are a well-oiled machine when it comes to Galleon sailing. I kind of laughed the last time he hopped on with us, and we were sailing. Wasn't it a Brig, Hefe? And he kept oversteering and misaligning because the turn radius was so different. But I feel like Godhammer is probably right. It does feel a little better.
It's definitely improved. There's still a lot of issues with it. I've been switching back and forth quite a bit now between Xbox servers and PC everybody servers. And if you play enough games, you're going to continue to run into the same people over and over again. I've had an issue where I ran into the same solo sloop ship 4 times in a row. You'll play around, hit somebody else, come back, get a different person to come back for that third round, and you'll have the person that you fought the first time. It's improved. There is definitely a quicker queue time for it, but you're still going to run into the same people over and over again.
On Friday, I was watching Bearded Gadden and Boxy, and they were doing the hourglass stuff. And Beard convinced Boxy to try instead of diving over and over, to do the defend. And what Beard was saying was that he had been doing that some this past week, and that he had seemed to think that the problem of getting the same people over and over and over was not happening on defense versus diving over and over. I don't know if there's any validity to that, but he also made a comment that he felt like that the balance of skill level was better doing it that defense mode versus the continual diving. I thought it was interesting. It's something that we only got really kind of one day of that under our belt, so maybe with some time we can have a more fleshed out opinion of that. But I thought it was interesting that for someone who has as many thousands of hours in the game as Beard does, for him to have those thoughts on that, I found it interesting.
It's good to hear. It's nice that we're getting to a point where the cross stamp is helping a lot, that people are going to start finding, and I think as people start to you start getting the people out of the queues who've been grinding to get their curses and their gold curses and stuff. I think the more of those people who have kind of moved on to different things, I think the better you'll have a more generalized populace of people who are around the same level, and games will kind of be back and forth. Like you'll probably win a couple, lose a couple, win a couple, lose a couple, and the times will stay kind of fast. I'm glad that this is the case. It's not the case for everyone. Obviously, like there's going to be a fair amount of people that are still running into some major issues, especially with people having different averages for MMR. If you're not playing with those people on a regular basis doing dives, and they're doing dives without you and stuff, it's really going to make a difference. But it'll be something that I definitely want to talk to some folks about in the community who have been doing a lot of diving, who have been doing a lot of PvP, because I think it'll be interesting to get their thoughts on it as well too.
I would add, for new players or people that are used to just going around with the PvE, it is a different mindset, a different game. That can be a hard transition for many. Get into it, embrace it, expect to lose, and it does seem like it gets better. And the more people play, the better it'll be. But it is not adventure mode. You cannot go into it thinking adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry, Logan.
No, go ahead. What do you got?
I think with what Tennessee just said, I think that there's been a few times where I've got very, very frustrated. But my dad and my grandpa here had to kind of walk me off the edge a little bit and say, hey, like, let's just have fun. And what happens, happens. And I think once I put my mindset into it, like, hey, whether we are diving or defending, let's just have fun. If we're having a crap night, we're having a crap night. I put it the same way as when I'm playing Call of Duty or Halo with Tennessee. Like, there's nights where we're on, and then there's nights where it's just bad. It's like, you know what? Let's put it down. Let's go to bed. We'll come back the next day. You kind of have to go into diving with a whole complete other mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really do. I still maintain that I like to do a little bit of everything on a sail. Like if I can, then I want to do some stuff, feel like I got some gold, feel like I accomplished something, and then do a couple dives. If those go well, awesome. If not, maybe move back to doing something else that'll actually earn me some gold or at least give me some satisfaction, stuff like that. I still think that there's going to be some stuff that we can't obviously talk about, but I think that they are looking to try and address some of the comments that are going on in chat right now as far as the TDM becoming more prolific and people finding that locking a ship down is generally easier to handle compared to just sinking them outright. I think people are better, obviously, with first person shooters than they are with playing Angry Birds and Sea of Thieves.
Some of the best wins we've had is people firing off their boat trying to get on and not paying attention to their boat.
Yeah.
Those have been some good wins.
I mean, that's how we won last night. That's how two of us on the sloop beat a galleon, because they spent too much time with 2 or 3 people just trying to get over and board. And
I love those ships.
Eventually, and we didn't. It's not like Hefe was watching it. You can attest to it. I mean, it's not like we were hitting the bottom of their ship much. They might have had 1 or 2 holes in the bottom of their ship, but once that sucker filled up and got to the second level, they were done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that y'all decided to hang out with me. I know we went a little bit over, but I appreciate the extra time to be able to address Godhammer's comments and thoughts. And I encourage anyone to, if you're listening and you're not a gold hoarder, definitely feel free to consider it if you want to jump in on the conversation. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to write in, whether be by email or DM through Discord, Twitter, things like that, to definitely kind of bring more conversation to the situation. Let us know. And as Pad says, yeah, pay me more money. Yeah, I'll take your money if I got to get to SOT Fest somehow. So with that, I think we're going to run down. Thank everyone that stopped by. Shout out to Regis Stella, who took off a little bit earlier to take care of some stuff, make sure that they're doing okay. Thank you to them for coming in and hanging out with us. Hefe, anything you want to shout out or anything you want to say as we head out?
I just want to say thank you for just creating the community that you've done. If it were not for the Keelhauled Podcast community, I wouldn't have the relationship that I have with Rusty and Prof and Patty and others that have turned into real, genuine, real life friendships, and it means the world to me. So thank you, Logan, for what you do. It does not go unnoticed, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate you guys being here. Norwegian, anything you want to shout out or say as we head out?
Shout out to the Sherpa program. As always, don't be shy. Hit them up. They're great people, all of them. They will be happy to help you. They have definitely helped me quite a bit, learn more about the game, Glitterbeard, PvP fighting, ships, all of it. So don't be afraid to hit them up. They're fantastic people. Anybody in this community is fantastic. Ask them for help. They'll help you. And please, people, stop putting empty storage crates next to the wood barrel if you're going to do an hourglass.
good and wise words. Definitely appreciate it. Rusty, we're getting out of here, buddy. Anything you want to shout out or say as we head out?
Nah, guys, it's just always good to be here. I know, yeah, it's just always good to be here. That's all. You guys, I'm glad I became friends with a lot of you guys. I've been through a lot the last couple of years. So, yeah, just have a good day, guys, and just be good to each other, okay?
Appreciate it. Professor from Tennessee.
Drink up, me hearties. Have a good evening.
Patty, anything you want to shout out or say? I know you're still doing the streams with Xbox Mike and Sightless. I know that you're still helping out.
No, the only thing I want to say is I know that this obviously won't go out until Monday, but happy birthday to Carl Embo for the weekend just gone.
I know, that's a good call out too. Carl, who wanted to be here, couldn't make it, heading out to have a fantastic weekend. Hopefully safe, full of fun, and no major issues with that. So happy birthday, Carl. I'm glad to hopefully be able to join us for next month's episode as well too. All right, well, I think that's going to do it. I appreciate you guys so much. I promise in the future I will constantly try to say tome versus tomb. I will try to say rune versus runes, and we'll kind of leave it at that. Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
Hey, I'm Tom.
And I'm Stuart.
And we're from the Dungeons & Dragons Lorecast.
We talk about all things connected to D&D lore.
And we're on the Robots Radio Network. So if you're into Dungeons & Dragons or you're into lore, then come check us out. You can find us on any podcatcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get podcasts.
Roll more dice.
That's the Dungeons & Dragons Lorecast.
Have you ever wondered how deep the Elder Scrolls lore rabbit hole goes? Have you got a grasp of the basics and want to find out more about the universe? Written in Uncertainty is here to help you. We'll be mixing in philosophy, theology, and whatever other theory is useful with Elder Scrolls texts